God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything
Morning, everyone. How we doing? Good, good. So I need to get coached up on the Hanukkah thing. I think I might need one more light. Is that right? This is the lighting candle. And tonight's the sixth night. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, 5. Say what? Oh.
Count 6 and don't count the middle one.
Is that one on? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not the middle one.
Out. 5. Out. Oh. Ah. Oh. Ah. Oh. Ah. Okay. That's Hebrew for ouch. Okay. So welcome all to the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, where we rumba in the Jewish tradition. So looks like we're all locals here, so let's just get on with it and meet and greet each other, say good morning, and
1, 2,
off we go.
3.
All of the young reindeers used to laugh, call them names. They never let Rudolph playing any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? And all the others loved him as it crowded out with glee. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you go down in history. Then one shiny Christmas Eve, no fog came into the valley. Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? But all the others loved him, they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you go down in history. Reindeer, oh, that shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you might even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh, call him names.
Here we go, right here.
Red-Bill Rudolph, playing in reindeer games. Oh, Rudolph.
Yeah. Yeah, man, dig those reindeer games. Yeah. Little single malt, little reindeer game. Checking my game with the reindeer game. Or the Seahawk game tonight against LA Rams. Go Hawks. Okay, now that I have that out of my system. As we batten down the hatches in the back, can we close that door back there? Dynamite. All right. So please help me welcome our assistant minister, Reverend Nancy Woods. The one who keeps me on the straight and narrow, just so you know. All right, so let's take a deep, conscious breath. Exhale. We made it. Made it to church. It's going to be a good week. Just using the breath to center ourselves, anchor ourselves in this eternal now moment as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
And I feel and sense and know this love. and feel this room is filled with it. It's all around us. It is flowing in us, through us, and as us. So I know that this is the divine presence of life giving way, allowing each and every aspect of this time that we have chosen to share with each other be one in which we expand and embrace the awareness of the infinite presence of life, and know that as we are that divine presence in presentation, we rejoice because we know that it is filled with that power, that love, and that joy, and that sense of being loved in such a glorious way that we know as we love each other, we love ourselves. The divine gives us even greater understanding of life and what it can give us. So it is with joyous embracing of these ideas and this understanding that we join together here this morning to share, to give to each other willingly from the heart. And it is a divine event. So with appreciation and acceptance, I welcome each one here to unite with me in this awareness as we say together, and so it is. Good morning. So, is everybody in the holiday spirit? Yes, ma'am. Doesn't feel good. It takes me a while to get in it, but I think I'm in it now. Yesterday, I had the wonderful opportunity to be of service at the North Valley. It's actually my first time of going. And I recognized that I had spent most of my life in that type of service, and so I had just pulled away from it to a certain extent. And yesterday was an interesting experience because I went back and I could feel the need. And there was a need there, and I had a little bit of a challenge because I just felt like, okay, is it any way I can I wanted to take them all and just hold them or to love them and to see the little joy on the children just because they were going to be able to give their parent a gift. And you know why you do such things. And I realized and recognized for myself, it was like I almost forgot that there is joy in everything. And these were little things that people would find in so much. It brought the joy. And I realized more than ever that the joy of life is in us. It is not that which happens outside of us. We bring the joy. And there's no end to it. And I just felt like I had a blessing just being there and having that experience. And I realized once again the richness of being of service. I realized how blessed it is to have an opportunity to pour forth the spirit of life through us with that experience. Because the joy, it's really a powerful thing to really grasp and understand that all this that I keep reaching for out here is in here. The joy, the beauty, the peace, the love, it is all here. And I realize nothing seems to give you a chance to open that door greater than being of service. And I felt like I wanted to just pour the love forth, and I don't know how much the other people felt it, but I enjoyed it. And I realized that in giving, I am the one that's blessed. I'm the one that gets to feel the joy. I'm the one that gets to feel the peace that I give. I'm the one that gets to feel the love. I get it. So, any opportunity to give it, I welcome it. And I'm very grateful to be here so I can welcome it one more time. And thank you for letting me share that.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? A very Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everyone. About 9 o'clock last night, I realized I left my suit in the dry cleaner. I didn't pick it up, so I apologize for not having a suit. But this is very comfortable, so.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, thank you. Please welcome David and Kent and the band today.
Yay.
So we are very lucky to have our very own Mr. Jerry Reike joining us. And just a couple days ago, I told him what I thought was the topic. Hopefully it was the right topic. And so Jerry went ahead and wrote a song for the occasion. So I'll let Jerry explain that.
Yeah, it took a long time trying to figure out, going to YouTube and all the other places. Nothing sounded right. So, I said, Ken, I'll have something to you tonight.
You did.
9:30 I wrote it. 10:30 he had it. Next day we put the music to it, and he was kind enough to do a chart. So thank you, Ken, for that. So this is called No Longer Slave to Fear.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
My life was once a desolate place, so filled with lack and fear. No place to ring with freedom's voice from sounders laying near. And then one day in silence felt a stirring I could hear. So small the sound that pierced the dark, yet brought my life to bear. I lay within this boundless place, no longer slave to fear. My selfless place, my seed of love and joy intended near. And so it stayed for years to come, so patiently it stared into my soul until unfolded life I knew was there. My heart is full, my light shines bright, it leadeth me away. In gratitude, no longer doubt, no fear can life delay. This place of wonder, always here to never take away. It rests within the seed of me, my universe it stays. I lay within this boundless place, no longer slave to fear. My selfless place, my seed of love and joy intended near. My heart is full, my late. No fear can life delay.
Wrote that song in 1 hour, honestly. That's amazing. Thank you for that. Sometimes, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays to everyone. It's wonderful to see you. You look great. I love all the colors, and it's really wonderful to be here. When I came in this morning, I was listening to them practice, and all of a sudden I had this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. And I get that sometimes when I'm here, so thank you for that. I have some announcements. I don't know if they're going to go up on the board, but we do have a few things going on. First of all, if you haven't visited the bookstore lately, please do so, because I know for sure you'll be able to get some of your Christmas shopping done there. There's some wonderful, beautiful items in there, ranging in price from all kinds of, different levels. There's teas and books and beautiful jewelry and purses and all kinds of wonderful things. So please stop by the bookstore. Leslie Austin, who did these beautiful flowers, has revamped our bookstore, and it's wonderful. Also, the other thing I want to mention is Abraham Hicks Group is not meeting today. Normally would be meeting today, but Mike Carland is having some other issues, so it will not be meeting today. Metaphorical approach to the Bible is still open. Okay, it's closed, so there. Let's see. Healing support group will be, is this last week's? Am I looking at last week's? All right, I'm gonna look at this one instead. We're closed also, right? Okay, so the two classes that are ongoing right now are closed. We have the Sangha Spiritual Cinema is happening. They have a Christmas party this Wednesday morning. The Sangha Holiday Christmas Party is happening, potluck, so bring a white elephant gift. All the information is right there. And everyone's invited to that. I've never been to Sangha, and I could go. So you're all welcome to come to that. Also, if you have never been to the Spiral of Light celebration here on, it's happening this Wednesday at 7 o'clock right here in the sanctuary, which is transformed into a labyrinth of light. It's beautiful and fantastic. Bring your kids, come and celebrate that with us. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. Wednesday, December 27th, Brian Lotman will be here for spiritual satsang, and there's more details on that in Sparks Hall. Bereavement Support Group will be meeting on Sunday, December 24th, Christmas Eve. They're still going to be meeting to support those who need it. December 26th, our own Susan Amston will be taking a group of people down to the Hippie Kitchen to help feed the homeless. So I don't know, you're probably full, but I think you were trying to take another car. You're good. 11 people. Okay, great. There will be a New Year's Eve service here at 6 p.m., obviously on New Year's Eve. And then that morning, the morning of December 31st at, is it 4 a.m.? Did I? Yeah. 4 a.m., there's a world peace meditation that we participate in every year. 4 a.m. right here in the sanctuary. A group of us, please come and join us for that as we pray together and meditate together for world peace. I think that's all I got. So happy holidays to everybody, and thank you.
I want to remind you, next Sunday is only one service, right? So it's only the 10:30 service. So. And there's a choir. Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that part.
Christmas-related music.
Oh, okay. Oh, so would you stand and say the Declaration of Principles with me? We believe in one universal spirit manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal too and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life, in the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in eternal goodness, eternal loving kindness, and the goodness of life to all.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be.
Very nice. All right. Yeah, so tell your friends, if you have friends who usually come to the 9 o'clock, there's no 9 o'clock service. Next week is Christmas Eve. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So can I ask anyone who was in service at North Valley yesterday to just stand for a moment so we can acknowledge you? I know you guys hate that stuff. Yes, thank you. Let's thank them. Also David Rowan, Emily, who else am I forgetting? Anyway, if you're watching and I've forgotten your name, come next week and remind me. What else can you say, right? Yeah, you know, it's the holiday season. I'm thinking about fruitcake. I love me some fruitcake. Yeah, no rum, no. Yeah, I know, man. That's more for me. Yeah, and you know, it is an abundant universe around Christmas time when it comes to fruitcake. All right, so today, have no fear. Have no fear. It's Hanukkah. So, happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. So we'll Christmas it up today. Today I'm going to, however, for today I'm going to speak a little bit more to the Jewish tradition. And I have to tell you that as we embrace the quality of being honest and strive to let our inner convictions match our outer actions, the talk title today presented is not Have No Fear, but rather it is a life of courage. Right? And so when I heard a life of courage, I thought, have no fear. So this talk title, the notes have been prepared by Reverend Jill Brocklehurst, who's from Campbell River, British Columbia. And what you need to know about Reverend Jill is that she is a stud. She's like one of these fearless outdoors women type, right? So whitewater rafting, rock climbing, and a yoga instructor, and probably in the snow with snowshoes for all I know. But she's just, her and her husband both are not only enthusiasts, but probably experts in outdoors type things. And so, it's easy for her to say a life of courage because, man, and we go to these big meetings, right, these conventions. She's not afraid to speak up, right? So there'll be hundreds of people, and she's not afraid to speak up and maybe sometimes be the minority opinion. So good for her. And so when I read that, knowing Jill, and this idea of a life of courage, I was thinking about her, and I said, well, what about the rest of us, right? So have no fear, not quite the same thing. But, of course, I have to admit that, have no fear has its roots in, of course, the cosmic cartoon character Shoeshine Boy, otherwise known as Underdog. Have no fear. See, and your parents thought you were wasting all that time watching cartoons. Have no fear, Underdog is here, and of course, the secret to his success was an Underdog energy pill which he had in his secret compartment in his ring. And the things that could make him nervous were a Simon Bar Sinister and a couple, I don't know. Yeah, that was his sweetheart. So here she is administering a spiritual mind treatment by means of an Underdog energy pill. See, I'm telling you, all of life's answers are on television and in the cartoons. And of course, then he's empowered. Power. Yeah. That's how I am after spiritual mind treatment. Yes. Bring on the bad guys. All right, so there's reality. That's Campbell River, British Columbia, right? So beautiful place. This is a ferry landing, old school ferry landing. So yeah, God's country. So I was thinking about such things, and the idea that, of course, I'm joking about Shoeshine Boy and Underdog, but I think these are two ends of a continuum of the human experience many times. That I think that there are times when we can all feel like Shoeshine Boy, right? Right? Feel like that guy who's on the beach and the dude comes up and kicks sand in your face, right? That thing. But on days like this, it's good to remember and to know that the infinite intelligence, let's see, is this the next one? Yeah, okay. So the infinite intelligence governs, guides, directs, sustains, and animates my life. Infinite mind makes no mistake. It is never discouraged. This mind is my mind now. All belief, any belief in fear, discouragement, disappointment, or failure is erased from my consciousness. Erased from my consciousness. So, in another, the words of another spiritual teacher, this is what it means to be renewed or to put on the mind of the Christ. This mind is my mind now. All belief in fear, discouragement, disappointment, or failure is erased from my consciousness. So wouldn't this be a powerful affirmation to start our day with before we even get out of bed? Yeah? So, and what kind of world would it be if we all did this? What kind of experience of life would we have? Maybe that would be a good experiment to try for the rest of 2017, right? Yeah, one day at a time for the next 10 days or so, whatever it is. Now, Reverend Stephen and I have been teaching a class on metaphorical Bible, and I chose to start this class, even though there's a lot going on in the holiday season, on purpose to have kind of a sense that a group of us, there's about 12 of us in the class, maybe 15, that there's a substantial group in our center who are looking back on these ancient texts and to see how they correlate or relate to what's going on, not only in the life of this spiritual community, but in the greater world as well. So in this, we can find, and we have found so far, all kinds of stories that support that kind of go-get-'em attitude of the underdog, right? But we can also find stories, and have found stories in there, of fear and trepidation. The ways of playing small even, or even shrink from what is right or even moral, what most people would consider moral behavior. So I wanted to touch on this because we are right in kind of heading towards the end, really, of this Hanukkah season. And at the same time, acknowledging that in Hanukkah, we who are not from this tradition, even though if you grew up Christian, you really are from the tradition, whether you recognize it or not. But those of us who did not grow up practicing in this faith system, that we are in a way acknowledging the influence that these ancient peoples have had and continue to have on the ways that we live in modern times. So for instance, the idea of justice or injustice, the rule of law, can be directly attributed to the ancient Hebrews of the Hebrew Bible. So, in this class with Reverend Stephen, we are not only exploring how these events unfolded within the Hebrew narrative, how they are relevant or maybe even not relevant. So it's, we're encouraging people to speak up and let's just pick it apart. But also to put on the mind of the Hebrew, if you will, and to recognize, as Reverend Stephen has been showing us, that the ways that we can come to Scripture, which is not just Hebrew or Christian Scripture, this can be any Scripture, that to recognize that we are coming to it with certain preconceptions, perceptions, beliefs, stuff that's already in there, that there is a Greek influence, that all of us, whether we have hair or not, are under the influence of Grecian formula of some kind, of knowing that, of seeing the world in an empirical way, right, in that so-called reality, the stuff we can measure, versus from the Hebrew mind, which was a much more, I would say, an artistic approach, right? So Reverend Stephen keeps reminding us, okay, so what are they trying to say, right? Because you go right to it. So take the creation story. Was the earth created in 7 days? Well, we know from the science, probably not. And so then we go at it trying to figure out, well, how does this thing work? Well, maybe in God's mind, a day is like a bazillion years, right? So we come up with this whole thing. No, what are they trying to tell us by means of this story? What is the greater truth that these ancient peoples are trying to convey to themselves around the fire, if you will, right? 8,000, 9,000 years ago, right? Before written, these stories are ancient. What are they trying to tell us? What are they trying to tell themselves? What is that eternal truth, which all myths have within them, an eternal truth along with a kernel of truth? That's what are they wanting to convey in a much larger way? So this is what we are working with. And so we started with the creation stories and played around with those. And last week we went to Father Abraham. Now this is quite a story if you haven't been in a Bible for a while. So I'm just going to give you, so what we did was we teased out the story, because they didn't start out as Abraham and Sarah, they started out as Abram and Sarai, right? So in case you didn't know. And they went from the land down under, no, they went from the land of Ur to Canaan, right? Up to, out to, so Ur to Canaan, famine, down to Egypt. And so they have within all the antics that go with a family vacation are being displayed here through these ancient people. Well, it was more of an adventure than a vacation, really. So imagine this, right? So you're all set. You got a nice crib, right? Lots of sheep and goats, and your kids are healthy. They're all in good schools. The whole thing in Mesopotamia, right? So you're between the two rivers. Life is fat, man. It's good. And then this voice, your dad comes to you, I heard God told me that we need to leave all this and we need to go west, right? So that's the first thing. So I don't know exactly how that all happened, but somehow he talked them all into moving, along with his nephew Lot, right? So Lot, he comes up later in a really juicy story later. And so off they go to Canaan. They get there to Canaan to get all settled. Famine hits. Bummer. Now we go to Egypt. And not only do they get to Egypt, but apparently Abram had really good taste in women. So he had kind of a hot wife. And so he says, hey, look, this dude, the Pharaoh, you're beautiful. And so if he asks, you're my sister, because I don't want him to kill me, right? So, yeah, it's true. It's in there. Yeah, that's in there. And then, so then they masquerade in this way. And then, they get found out. And then off they have to go back to Canaan again. And they get resettled there. But and on the way, I forget the timeline here, Rev, excuse me. But they also, within this, there's this covenant that you are going to be the founder of this great nation that will be more numerous than the stars in the sky. That's a lot. Particularly in those days when you could actually see the stars in the sky. Right? More numerous than the stars in the sky. Well, they're kind of getting on in years. Right? They're getting on in years, and in fact, Sarai is starting to think, hey, I don't think it's going to happen. It would have happened by now. So I have a great idea. Take my handmaiden and impregnate her, and then we'll have an heir to your thing, and we'll get the thing going. So this, I think, falls under the man plans, God laughs category, right? So now they're doing their thing, and of course, it's hard for any ship to have two captains, even if they're two really nice women. So there's jealousy goes on, and so one of them has to go, and that's Hagar and her son Ishmael, because by this time, miraculously, Sarai does in fact get pregnant and has this son whose name is, one person has read the book, Isaac. Yeah, Isaac. So then the way that this works, then we have the birth of the nation of Israel and the birth of the Arab nation, which would produce the prophet Muhammad, blessed be his holy name. Okay, so we have in this the founding of the three great Abrahamic religions. We have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, there is one more interesting part that I should tell you about, which you probably already know. This kid, Isaac, this is another one of those things where God has a really great idea for Abraham. And so he takes Isaac and he takes him out to the desert, and he talks him into stacking some rocks. He makes an altar, and then he blindfolds him because God told him to sacrifice his only son to prove his faithfulness to God. And so he does it, man. He gets him all set up and blindfolds him, and he's going to give him the knife, and then the angel grabs his arm and saves the day. Kind of like underdog. Saves the day. Saves the day. Now, that's a pretty gnarly experience of God, I think, where you have to sacrifice your only son. Now, that has another familiar ring to it that's going to come down a few thousand years after this story, yeah? So we've been studying these stories, and what does that mean today? Is it still relevant? Well, we see in this person of Abraham, and by the way, he gets a name change, right? He gets a name change from Abram. Abram and Sarah then become Abraham and Sarah, and from this the nation of Israel. The birth, I suppose, really, of the nation before we had, boundaries and so forth. So we can see how. Here's a couple things that I take from that. So God could have chosen the Pharaoh, right? He's already a powerful dude. He could have chose him to do this work. He could have there were probably 20 guys in Mesopotamia who were better qualified than he was. Right? But God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called, as Michael Beckwith has said. So, he takes this man with all of his frailties and his fears and the way that he is attuned to the ear of the divine and yet at the same time is fearful, right, to where he'll even offer up his wife to sidestep some potential fear, which we don't even know if it's really true. He's made up a story in his own head about the Pharaoh. Don't we do the same thing? It's just a metaphor for the struggle of life itself, even as modern peoples. And this is why these stories continue to call to us and to continue to encourage us to check out what they have to say, whether it's the Hebrew Bible or in the coming weeks we'll be looking at the way the New Testament was put together. But also if we were studying the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedic traditions, the Pali from the Buddhist tradition, that all of them are calling us. This is why we like these flames of faith. All of them are calling us to go deeper. Come to me, my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. But we have to first drop away, right? Allow the way that we currently see the world, including our opinions about such scriptures, allow that to fall away, to consciously allow our mind to open, and then in that opening then to listen with the ear of the heart, right? Maybe even with the consciousness of the artist, the consciousness of the artist versus the engineer, right? So the Greek way is the way of the engineer. Right? To listen, as Rumi said, the Sufi poet, to listen with the ear of the heart. And then we get a completely different story. It goes from just being a bunch of stories that we may have read about in the children's Bible, right? Before we got out of high school at some point, right? That we kind of generally have an idea of what happened. To really allowing the voice of the divine speak to us from our ancient ancestors of the desert. So it's not, I think it's also profound, speaking to the way people are called, that the Hebrews were a desert people. And having grown up on the desert myself, right, in the 70s before we got all the ambient light and they actually, people actually moved to the Antelope Valley and wanted to live there. I lived there before that. And when there was like 20,000 people on Edwards Air Force Base, there was like 4,000 people. And And when it got dark this time of year, it was dark. It was dark. And you did lie out. I do remember lying out with my buddies in the sleeping bags looking up at the sky when there's no moon, which is kind of inviting, it's almost, you get a sense of the vastness. You can almost feel your mind opening to the heavens. We don't really get that kind of an experience today. And so this feast of Hanukkah and a lot of these rituals that acknowledge that the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer. We're moving through this darkness to Thursday night, which is the solstice. And then from then on, we're now stepping into the light. So for this week, what have you been playing small with? Right? What have you felt like you needed an underdog energy pill to call forward? And instead of in believing in some cosmic cartoon character that's going to save you, rather to know the infinite power and presence of the divine is within you right now, is not judging you, that you are not being punished for your sins, but by your sin, by the error of your old thinking, that we can don the mind of the Christ, an enlightened consciousness that will show us the way and to step into the light. For these last few days of 2017, I don't know about you, but there's stuff about 2017 I'm ready to let go of, particularly out in the outer world, right? Get thee behind me. Yeah. Step into the light. Step into the light. To allow that genius within us. Yeah, the inner genius. I had to get a construction guy in there. There's something very joyful about building stuff. I just got to say that, speaking for my brother up here. Yes, the joyful expression of creativity as carpenter. That's why Jesus, he could have been anything. He chose to be a carpenter. He knows. So for those of you who don't know, I come from the carpentry background, building contract reform ministry. So here's what I wanted to finish up with. In every work of genius, we recognize our own rejected thoughts. Our own rejected thoughts. They come back to us with a certain alienated majesty. So sometimes this is like, when you've had that one of those thoughts, like you've had an idea for something, maybe a piece of houseware, something in the kitchen, or that would make life in the home or on the job or whatever more useful. And then you can't sleep one night, and then you see new from Ronco, and you're like, oh, I thought of that 10 years ago, but we never did anything about it. All right, so I want to encourage you for today and then through this week, come to the spiral of light and see what kind of light you can bring in to that seed idea, that genius within that's longing to come forth by means of you and by means of me. Let's work with that. All right, let's call the musicians up. All right, so playing with this idea of life, let's all take a deep breath, recognizing and knowing that the light of the divine is present right now, that it is impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as our body temple, in, through, and as our consciousness. That as we attune to knowing this truth for ourselves and for all beings, we step into this day, this Sabbath day, knowing that we are stepping into a field of light, into a field of knowing, a greater experience of our life, a greater experience for those of life for whom we love, and those whom we've yet to meet. That we allow that genius within to come forth, not only within us, that we step into the courage of allowing that to come forward, without let or hindrance of any kind, to the full and complete demonstration of the greatest me that's yet to be. Because one day at a time, I know I'm getting better and better. And so it is.
One, two.
Some days we forget to look around us. Some days we can't see the joy that surrounds us. So caught up inside ourselves, we take when we should give. So for tonight we pray for what we know can be, and on this day we hope for what we still can't see. It's up to us to be the change, and even though we all can do much more, there's so much to be thankful for. Look beyond ourselves. There's so much sorrow. It's way too late to say I'll cry tomorrow. Each of us must find our truth, so long overdue. So for tonight we pray for what we know can be, and on this day we hope for what we still can't see. It's up to us to be the change, and even though we all can still do more, there's so much to be thankful for. Even with our differences, there is a place we're all connected. Each of us can find each other's light. So for tonight we pray for what we know can be, and on this day we hope for what we still can't see. It's up to us to be the change, and even though this world needs so much more, there's so much to be thankful for. Thank you.
The equipment cooperated with you that time. Nice job, you guys. Thank you. All right, so as we prepare our gifts for the offering, we'll call our ushers forward. Let me get the
kids. Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes in me. Spirit lives and breathes in me. Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through me.
All right. Good to have the kids in for the offering. All right. So just going with them for a moment longer, recognizing and knowing that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so from the generous heart of the individual from which these gifts have been offered here this morning, we, representing the heart of this community, accept these gifts with deep respect, love, and appreciation as we know, go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless the life of each one here this morning, the life of anyone connected to this center in any way, that we extend this good news, this greeting, these tidings of goodwill to our friends here in this community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, for our planet as well, that we know that all of it is an emanation from the very mind of Spirit itself. And to the extent that we know and know this to be true, we see it. We see it demonstrating in all ways, great and small. This lifts our hearts. We feel a sense of gratitude that empowers us into ways of spiritual living that raise ourselves and others. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank our ushers today, Sandy Kelly, our board president, Andrea Reck, and I shall use this mic and turn mine off. Come on up here, you guys. The platform's cool. All right, so come on up here. That's it. There's lots of room. I'm going to, boy, you guys are getting big. I got to kind of get up here. Yeah. So let me do that since I have the mic. All right, so, boy, we got some good stuff going on here today. Let's start with our teens because I know they have, they need to get out and get ready for us. Who's going to? Kayleen, how about it?
It's me. I love that. Okay. So today we just worked on the bags again, and we filled them with water, crackers, sunscreen, and then we attached a little resource paper where they can go for shelter or a meal.
Bags are for?
And they're for the homeless.
Homeless folks?
Yes.
And then what would you... And then are we to distribute them, or are you
and
doing
so
that?
we
Okay.
would also, we're inviting you guys to take some and pass them out, to any homeless that you see, like near your house or your grocery store. Just, yeah, we encourage you to do it.
Okay, so...
They're right out here in the front when you walk
Okay.
out.
So did you do 2 locations, just the
No,
one?
we just the one location, just right over here.
Okay. And then how many bags should they take?
We made about 90-ish, so if you want, you can take as many as you want, or maybe we'll have some left over for the Monday and Tuesday class for people who aren't here today who might want to do it also. So perhaps save a couple for them.
Yes, so their goodies, of course, are in here. So it's just kind of a nice little, hey, sorry we can't do this for you every day, but here you go. But you get this really nice bag they've decorated themselves, right? So it really is a gift of love. Nice job. And the brainchild of this was Nikki, so thank you, Nikki. All right. So do they need to go out ahead of us? Or okay, good. All right. And then we have, come on up here, babe. So tell them who you are.
My name is Janie.
Janie.
Janie, yeah.
Janie, yes. And you have here what?
I had today the tweens. We did we played with dreidels. We made jelly donuts, and we lit the mandolin, the menorah. Because today is the 6th day of Hanukkah, and we played with the dreidel today, and we were talking about the light, which means hope.
Nice. Boy, you guys did a lot. And have we met yet? Do I know who you are? Have we met already?
My name's Ari.
All right. Hey, baby. How you doing? Say hi, Piper.
I don't know it.
Very good. Just be cute. That's all you need to do. Very nice. Okay. Anything else? We're good? All right. Very good. So let's call Reverend Nancy up to pray us out. Here, I'll just give you this microphone here.
So as the practitioners circle the room, and circle it in love and appreciation, as we recognize that each and every opportunity that we get together is opportunity to share the love that is in our hearts. And as we go forth to recognize this truth in every place that we are, we know that the love flows through us, for us, and as us. And we experience the blessing of that flow. So with joy and appreciation, I welcome everyone to know this truth with me as we say together, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Jerry, Rudolfo.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Paralegal.
Oh, no, not right now, but thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Here we go. 1, 2, Vamp
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh, call him names. They never let poor Rudolph play in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then all the others loved him, and they counted out with glee. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the others loved him as they crowded out with glee. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you go down in history.